everybody. Welcome to the Irish Wrestling Podcast. It is a Rumble special. We're going to be covering the OTT Rumble that happened last week and the Royal Rumble, which is coming up this coming Saturday for WWE. We're heading into the road to WrestleMania. Before we get into that, let me introduce you to the team. Colin and Mark, as you know, you may not be familiar. Corey Brennan of Fightful is here to join us. Ireland's resident, I'm sorry, Mark, the journalist, wrestling journalist in all of Ireland. Better than you, Mark. Sorry.
True, yeah.
You know it.
I mean, I was
actually a journalist. Yeah.
just putting a lot of pressure on me now with that
Welcome
state.
to the
Wow.
show, Corey.
Thanks, man. I'm happy to be
You'll
here for
have
this.
you'll have Rover tap Cian for these
Oh,
comments.
jeez.
As it is a Rumble show, we may or may not have a few surprise entrants throughout the night. We're waiting on a few people, so if they come in late, they will come in late. They'll be entered in. So if there's some early entries or early exit as well, somebody may get thrown over the top rope before we finish up tonight. If some bad takes, Mark, I'm looking at you.
Always Mark.
So before we get into the Rumble, Matt, the OTT Rumble and the WWE Rumble. And
Do you want to go over the fucking top row? Don't mind me, I'm just sat here next to you. Don't mind me, your life partner. Don't mind me, your wife.
you don't need no introduction. They all know you.
Oh, Liz, are you here?
Apparently.
Wonderful to see you. Good
No,
evening,
I
sis.
We didn't know because Jerry
Loving
introduced
loving
you.
the glasses, Liz. They look
Introduce
great.
myself.
It's grand, don't worry about it. I'm using my power of invisibility to fight fucking crime, nothing else. All right,
No.
grand. Thanks, love.
That's Liz.
Love you too. Hi.
We're going to get into some news first before we get into the Rumbles. Mark, you have some notes on the WWE NXT deal?
Yeah, like it's the WWE Raw deal. Even if you want to speak correctly, Jerry, it's
Sorry,
yes,
NXT.
Netflix WWE Raw. Yeah, so the press release is quite misleading in one sense. Corey, you probably got an idea of the breakdown of this. So it's the press release is they've announced it as Raw being on Netflix, but it's so much more than that. It is everything bar 3 different countries in the world. Every part of their live streaming PLEs and specials will all be now located on Netflix. So you're going to have outside of America, where you're going to have NXT on the CW, you're going to have SmackDown on USA Network. India is going to be remaining on the Saudi network, Corey, if I'm still correct in that.
I think so, yeah.
Saudi Arabia and North Africa will be staying on the MBC network, if I'm pretty sure on that as well. Now they've announced it as a 10-year deal for $5 billion. So that works out as $500 million per year. However, that does not take into account for simple financial metrics such as inflation, doesn't take into account foreign exchange, doesn't take into account interest rate charges being applied both internally in the US by the Federal Reserve or across Europe by the ECB or whatnot. So this is an incredible deal for Netflix. Netflix, their strategy and their slogan now is we want to own, we don't want to rent, which is why you see significantly more original content being produced by Netflix rather than them continuing to rent and leverage other sources now. This is a move from Netflix in order at some point to try be the home and of all WWE content. So everything outside of America is all there now. So if TNT Sports here in the UK is gone, TSN in Canada is now gone as well. So in terms of the actual payment of what it works out as for WWE Raw, it's averaging at between a 1.3 and a 1.4 increase. Is that correct? It's 130% to 140% increase, which is in line with the market expectation as far as I'm aware. That Brandon Thurston was going into quite a lot of detail on this on WrestleNomics this week. So although it's a $10 billion deal, at the same time Netflix can pull out of the deal after 5 years. They can also extend the deal for the exact same rates and terms after 10 years. So WWE may be getting 20 billion over 20 years. However, what is worth 10 billion in 2024 could be worth significantly less in 2034 and even less in 2044. So there's a huge amount of exposure on WWE's end. There's a huge amount of they're giving up for potential future earnings, for the security of knowing they have a home that is a bit more mainstream and for a bit more widespread public acceptance into the kind of general zeitgeist, as it were. It's a very curious deal because you've got 2 people spinning it. Ari Emanuel and Nick Canner, 2 of the biggest PR and agents in Hollywood over the last 20 years. I'm sure fucking Entourage was spun off just to try and make a story of Ari Emanuel's life, essentially. So it's very, very curious deal. Like it's being shown as being this kind of groundbreaking moment, but in reality it's not a huge increase. It's not near the figures Vince McMahon was looking for in terms of a rights increase for Raw in itself. Purely just for I suppose having one central location for all of WWE's content in the future. Now, in future, they will be selling off the rights for their archives. They will be in whatever 5 years' time is it for SmackDown and NXT, Corey?
I believe so. Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
they'll go back into negotiations with Netflix around that. Obviously, looking at one point to have everything in one central hub. Now, they're now promoting across 3 different types of platforms. They're promoting content on streaming service, they're promoting content on broadcast television for the CW network, and they're also promoting content on cable television. So there are 3 very different types of audiences. WWE Raw is largely dominated by an elderly audience, which is past the 1849 demographic. It's people who watch wrestling on a Monday night because they watch wrestling on a Monday night. They have done since the 80s with Hulk Hogan, Hulkamania. They're not the type of people who typically live and die by streaming services. So how is this going to affect WWE's Monday night coverage and their I suppose marketing of their product on a new streaming services would be before? Now obviously there's 265 million Netflix customers worldwide, so there's going to be huge scope for increasing in that. But how is that going to, if your bread and butter core audience aren't part of that demographic typically, how is that going to affect your weekly ratings and your weekly metrics? Now obviously streaming services don't use the same Nielsen ratings as would be typical television programmings, so it's not a very like comparison, and you won't be able to compare how your Raw on a Monday night that's being streamed does comparatively with other programs across the week. So it's all entirely new. There's so many different talking points that I think are largely being forgotten or not being looked at. But it's yeah, huge piece of news anyway. There's a lot of jargon thrown at you there.
Have Netflix ever done any live program?
They have a few. There's been a few. They've had golf events. They've streamed some of the reality shows finales, I believe, as well. But from what I understand, their live function is not something that is absolutely foolproof. It's not very well implemented from what I've gathered and what I've had people tell me. But that being said, with that regard, I've seen a lot of that complaint, and I would say that a lot can change in a year, especially for it. But yeah, in that regard, I feel like that they have a history with it, and the numbers for those live events, they do promote those numbers. So I wouldn't know if we would get weekly, as Mark said, but we would definitely get some inkling on how well it does do, I believe anyway. In terms of how the money breaks down, it's a very, very, as Mark said, a very risky situation for both parties, I feel like, because the product could be worth less, it could be worth more. And it, one way or another, I do not think when that time expires that we're going to have both parties be happy with the deal being extended or whatever does come from it. I don't know if there's any room for renegotiating after those time periods, Mark. I haven't had the chance to look over the full details of it, but yeah, from what I gather, at least the live function is something that they need to not fix but make better. And yeah, just to answer that question anyway, yeah.
This seems to be their first foray into kind of the live event function properly in terms of a live weekly broadcast. So obviously with the likes of the NBA, people talk to death about the NBA rights, etc. in America kind of coming up due. And obviously you look at Amazon who do sports from all around the world, kind of dominating that space generally. A lot of things Ari Emanuel and Nick Khan talked about when they talked about sports and Netflix was around things like Drive to Survive and the different documentary series. Like obviously the Six Nations one was just released today. They've had different documentary series around golf and tennis as well. So they're using that platform. They're probably not as worried about the live format as more as the kind of original content they'll be able to do in collaboration with Netflix. I think you've seen a lot of the steps that Nick Khan in particular has taken since coming into WWE. Huge amount of it has been based around making WWE more wholly acceptable as mainstream. I think like the amount of work they do with like college championship, even around every single college team and NFL team has a belt. Just constantly trying to make brand awareness a big piece of their work. So I suppose what the trade-off they might be looking at in terms of TV rights deals, they might be looking at in terms of, okay, this is going to get us far more worldwide exposure and give us more leverage to expand it to different markets, maybe in the live event service or what other metrics they have, be it merchandise or whatnot. So I think WWE have sacrificed a great deal on potential future earnings for the hope of kind of mainstream acceptance and exposure significantly more than they currently are. That's the way I've read it anyway. Because I think Ari Emanuel's statement kept us reiterating over and over. It's Netflix. It's Netflix, as if it's the biggest thing in the world, and it could well be. But at the same time, you don't know what Netflix figures will be like in a year's time, because I know last year they were dropping, but at the same time, overall they were dropped overall last year. However, they had a huge increase in quarter 4 of last year, so it's quite a volatile space, streaming services as well.
Colin?
Yeah, like, listen, it all sounds good to me, and I keep looking at the lads obviously know a lot more than I do from the press side of things, but like I'm just seeing from the fan side of things, one of the questions that keeps popping up is price point. And that's probably the biggest question on everybody's lips. Am I going to have to pay more for Netflix now when this comes true? We don't know at the moment. I think is the answer. Like, but I think we can suspect that there probably may be a hike in prices due to the amount of money outlaid on this. But one of the things that I keep hearing about is the new audience, and I'll just give the US office as an example. The US office basically had a reincarnation over the last probably 5-6 years, with that new audience discovering it for the first time on Netflix and building to, I think it's the biggest sitcom ever streamed now, the US office, if I'm not mistaken.
Biggest sitcom, the biggest show is Suits on Peacock, but Netflix wise, I think the US office would definitely be the most streamed.
And it's doing massive numbers compared to when it was even on TV, when people were watching live, but they have this new audience watching now. So as Mark was saying, that Raw has this older audience, will this now be able to generate that new, maybe younger audience and bring in the new era and the new generations into the wrestling world? I know my friends who would probably watch 2 pay-per-views a year, if even, and they always ask me around Royal Rumble, WrestleMania, where now they're all like, oh, I heard Raw's coming to Netflix, I might start watching this now. And that's in a day, so I can only imagine what it's going to be like, the hype that's going to be driven behind it in the run up to 2025 before it comes to fruition. And that there could be a lot of hype behind that, and I reckon that they could garner that new audience if things are done right. But there's a lot to do before they get there.
And I suppose if you're looking at talking about the price point for Netflix are now pushing their lowest price service now as being their main stream of income. They want everybody to sign up to their ads inclusive service for $6.99 in the States, whereas to have an ad-free service is about $23, I believe, per month. So Netflix are moving towards the traditional television model, whereby they're going to be streaming adverts during your programming. So somebody made a comment yesterday that you'll be able to see Raw during ad breaks. You get to see people in an extended headlock sitting on having rest holds for so much longer than you would typically. Even though most Raw matches are mainly just rest holds anyway. So it's pretty shite. It's
just has to get in.
Pretty shite.
A lot more tonight.
It's shite.
What do you think of it?
I'm just thinking that I'm 100% sure who's signing Mark's paychecks these days. Anyway, that's what I'm thinking.
Always be working
hard or hardly working, Mark. Come here, look. As we always like to say with WWE, let's see how it goes. That's always a firm favorite here on Irish Wrestling Podcast. But again, that it will be down to cost for sure, because to grow that fan base, for us, we will go and look for the channel that whatever wrestling show is on. We will actively seek it because we want to watch it because we're fans. So it's going to be really, really interesting to see, because of the ease of availability of the programming to such a wider audience, is it something that they're going to pop on and just leave run? Like you would, I mean, you'll put something on now and you'll binge watch it without 7-8 episodes and things like that for it. But will it be something, because it's so easily available now to those who do have Netflix, it's going to be really, really interesting to see if it is something that they leave on. Because otherwise you're a channel flicker. But in Netflix, you don't tend to flick channels until you find something you want to watch. So it will all be down to how Netflix market this as well, hugely, and the influence that WWE will have on Netflix's marketing on this.
Yeah, like WWE on BT Sport, it's been a disaster from the start to finish. Like it's
just terrible,
absolutely horrendous. Just in terms of nobody watches it. Even though like you go to live events around UK, they're all sold out. But that's just mainly due to YouTube and things like that for younger
Yeah.
generations more than anything. And typical fans who don't just watch wrestling
Mm.
as they do out of habit. So having that ease of access, yeah, like I mean, Corey Brennan's Pride and Joy Black and Gold baby down in Florida, they might actually get a fan base now and actually might become a good product. You never know. But anyway, yeah.
Oh my God,
Yeah,
Mark's
yeah.
in an
Mark, they're not-
awful mood
They're not
today.
black and
I'm
gold.
in great form. We're back, baby.
Just to mention the black and gold brand as well. Sorry, before we go further, I just think that would be remiss to say that it's coming to Virgin Media as well for the
Yeah.
next year before they
Yeah.
do move to Netflix.
Nice. Okay.
So Sunday mornings, as far as I know, after
Alright.
SmackDown, I think, or
I
is it
think
after
SmackDown
Raw?
is Saturday.
SmackDown Saturday, Raw Sunday.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like 10 o'clock,
Yeah.
isn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But
Okay.
they're so you're gonna be able to watch Netflix on Irish terrestrial TV. You know, it's all digital now, but yeah, like that's massive for Ireland. So
Mm.
anyone listening to this, you can catch WWE on the weekends on Virgin, which is pretty
Isn't it
handy.
great though? They're putting in like a lot of groundwork before, if we ever come to see it NXT Europe, there's a lot of groundwork going into
Yeah.
growing the market over here, which I think is a great move considering the talent we have over here as well. It's good to see that there is a plan of some sort in place, as opposed to just throwing out any out of NXT Europe and hoping for the best. That they're putting the
Yeah.
groundwork in, which is really,
Yeah.
really nice.
Absolutely. And I mean, like, on the assumption the likes of Omari, Sammy D, or whoever can get picked up, like I'm really looking forward to seeing them in a love triangle situation on Virgin Media TV on a Saturday morning. That'd be great, wouldn't it?
Well,
God.
speaking of Omari and Sammy D, we're going to go into the
Fuck
OTT
me.
Rumble before we get into the actual WWE Royal Rumble. This past weekend, OTT had their first official
Loco.
Rumble match. Lads, we were at the show. I know, Corey, you caught some highlights and you results on Fightful already.
I've got the results and I've seen highlights from pretty much every match. I haven't got the chance to sit down and watch the whole show, but from what I've seen, it was very good. And from what I did see, the Rumble itself was very, very well done, especially for a promotion that hasn't done one before. So that was something that I was very impressed by. The other matches on the card seemed to be a lot of fun as well, especially considering some of the things I'm wrong. Am I correct in saying Trent Seven was pulled from the event late?
Yeah.
That was something that happened very late, and I think they recovered from that very well, especially when it was for the title.
Yeah.
I was very happy to see Be Cool win the Rumble. That was something that I was very happy to see, and I'm looking forward to that match as well when it does happen.
Yeah, Colin, give us your rundown on what happened for everybody who hasn't seen it yet.
Yeah, so yeah, just to preface, like I thought it was probably OTT's arguably one of their, if not the best event that they've held post COVID. Yeah, no, I think there was some worldies pre-COVID. There really was. Like, so the benchmark is pretty high. The fifth anniversary, I think, was fifth anniversary was a super show. So I think there's a massive bar. Definitely post COVID, I think it probably pushes it for top spot. I at the interval said that I was pretty happy with how the show was going before the Rumble. I didn't have any complaints about the show in any way, shape, or form up to that point. I know we had a bone of contention with the Trent Seven thing. We did kind of question, was it a work? Is it a shoot? What's really going on there? If it's a work, it's a very well worked work. If that makes sense. Because we know that Trent is signed with TNA and that they're playing into that then if it is a work. If it's a shoot and he did just pull from the show, even better. You know, fucking call him out for it. It's brilliant. It works. It gets the fans back up because everyone was expecting that match. Instead, we got Flash Morgan Webster, who anyone who's follows indie wrestling this side of the pond, TNA, will know who Flash is. Phenomenal match. He definitely held his own. It's my first time I think seeing Flash in his singles as well. I don't think I've ever seen him now live in his singles. And I was a bit unsure. I knew he was a good wrestler, but I knew he was a good tag team wrestler. You know, so seeing him in the singles and him and Sammy, I thought had an absolute banger. Great match. And again, I think we were saying this, I'd like a credible contender to have that championship match. I know we were saying about maybe throwing in one of the younger lads. I think it kind of gives away the result, you know, like someone's not dethroning Sammy D, bring in someone like Flash maybe,
Yeah.
you know, so but yeah, the Rumble then itself was just it blew me away. It absolutely blew me away. It was so well worked. The whole way through, you had these mini stories running the whole way through it. It was very pop heavy. Now I know probably watching back, which I did, I watched back when the first night I went up. It doesn't actually sound as loud on the camera as it did in person. Like me and Jerry were actually only discussing this before we start recording. In the moment, it felt like the place was electric, absolutely electric and erupting every few minutes. But watching back, I don't think we got that same feel. There was a few lulls there as well. Now, I think the points and the story plot points kind of came across, but those kind of massive moments didn't feel like massive moments watching back. So I think that was the only kind of downside, although I thought that the production value of the recording was exceptional. And we had that new high wire camera as well that we haven't seen before, which I think is a great addition. And hope that they keep that going forward. But I just think that there was a stroke of genius at the end of that match. I know Mark had a couple of bones of contention, which I'm sure he'll touch on himself. But I think the finish where you have Joe Cabray and Be Cool in the ring, and Joe threatening to jump out of the ring and just give B the win, to turn and heel and kind of be like, no, I'm not, I'm gonna get in, I'm gonna fuck you up. And then the fans kind of surrounding the ring and not letting Joe throw Barry out of the ring. I think that it achieves so many different levels and layers of storytelling, and it drags the fans in. So even if fans were supporters of Be Cool, they're now, because they stopped Joe from throwing him out, he's now like really our guy. And now people who weren't, he's now their guy as well, because we made him win that match. And now going into the Scrappermania match, he's gonna have that support then going in. You have that connection is now built with him. So I just feel like that was an absolute stroke of genius. And I'm really looking forward to the run through now to Scrapper to see actually what happens. And win or lose, I'm buzzing for that match, whoever he ends up facing, and I really hope that it's Sammy.
I hope so. No.
Oh, like general.
Yeah. Overall.
I thoroughly enjoyed the show. Not very few low points for me. I would have liked Joe to win because I had number 29. So disgusted. I was like, whatever, fuck's sake. Whatever, panders these bunch of anyway. But but aside from that, my only concern is, are we going down the route a little bit of Sami Zayn with Be Cool?
Yeah.
Does that make sense? I'm a little bit weary of it, only because if he doesn't win at Scrapper, which I'll have words if he do, but what happens then? Like, he's got a lot of momentum. He's got a lot of, as you say, he's got a huge following with the crowd. And God, don't get me wrong, I'm so happy for him that he won, and it was such a great moment. But then I'm brought back to kind of Sami Zayn again in Canada. Do you know that kind of a way? And I'm like, where do we go from here? Because poor Sammy now has kind of fallen a little bit by the wayside. He hasn't, but like, let's face it, that was his big moment. So that's my only concern. Now it's a mild concern, but it's just what's ringing true with me. But flip side, I'd be very interested to see how that plays out, to see if we can avoid that, Massive shout out to the longest entries in the Rumble, who were absolutely put through their paces and must have been knackered by the end of it. Jay, Mother of Christ. Like, what was it, 44 minutes, Colin, we put up in it?
44 minutes, 17
Unbelievable.
seconds.
What a workhorse. And that's not any sort of a hint towards any sort of awards coming up soon. But And who else was up there? Was Omari up there again?
Leyton Buzzard, 41
Leyton Buzzard, that's what it was.
minutes.
Yeah.
Lemo, 33. Be Cool, 23. Charles Crowley, 20.
They didn't stop. Like, they
We're
literally
absolute,
did
yeah.
not stop. They were in all of the spots. They were in all of the massive pops. It was unbelievable. And even when they weren't, they made sure that others were getting their spots as well, and coming across really, really well. So all in all, yeah, super, super positive show. And yeah, let's see what happens next.
Mark?
Oh, yeah, it was class. Yeah, it was brilliant from start to finish.
Batten down the hatches. Here's Mark.
Crack on. So, yeah, no, I had a great time. I had a great all evening. Myself and Liz had a great time in each other's company. Yeah, it was brilliant. Yeah, I think we were all discussing last night around the huge increase in production values for camera wise and lighting wise. A lot of times you see the KFRC on the OTT on demand. It looks like a school hall sometimes on camera, and it just the way it was lit and produced and set up last night, it just felt on camera a lot better and a lot bigger. Like we were saying in the venue as we're sitting there live, this is brilliant. Everything looks fantastic here live. It doesn't always translate on camera, but whatever way they produce and cut it, they look fantastic. Colin, to your point about the pops, I said to you last night, the feed they have with the cameras or with the commentators, I think that drowns out the sound on the OTT on demand service, and you don't quite appreciate it because, as you say, we were in the venue when some of the people came out, and pops were deafening, and it just didn't translate because the commentators feed over the audio is overwhelming at times, and a lot of times the commentators were speaking over pops, particularly around Grado and a few other people, whereas you'd hope sometimes they just sit out and just let the crowd speak, the pop speak for itself. That was my only kind of observation on that front around the sound, but it's brilliant. There was a load of funny moments as well. Like there was one stage where Captain Sexsea was pulling his trousers off, and myself and Liz nearly creased ourselves when he pulled them halfway. They got stuck in his legs, and yeah,
Gotten worse.
It doesn't look that bad on camera, but it looks so much worse in person. It
was like he pulled at them about 4 times.
There was a few other funny things. Like I mean, like when Martin and Fabio come out, like who last year were like very close to being OTT tag team champions, and then they last like 2 seconds. You're like, what the fuck's that about? And like the way they come out, like they are technically baby faces, but the way they act and stuff, you're like, they look like dickheads. Particularly on the camera, they look like. Do you know what I mean? Like they should be heels. It just, and if they're gonna be treated like that, they're like complete mugs and just booted out straight away. Like, why aren't they heels? Like it's just the way that was booked. Something else kind of stood out to me. Like I love him. I think he's absolutely brilliant. Cian Noonan. What, that golden thing in his head the whole time? Just why didn't he take that off?
Did he wear it the whole match?
Yeah, I think so, more or less, or until they got taken off him. Yeah.
Didn't realize.
Yeah, and it was the sculpted thing when he came out first. I was like, the way he was that thing in his head, the way he was posing and stuff. I was like, oh, Cian's gonna heal it up here, and he didn't really. There was a bit of confusion.
We have a surprise entrant coming in at the number 5 spot. Is Maurice Shortall from Cheap Heat Production. Maurice, welcome to the show.
Thanks very much for having me on, Jerry. I don't know if you can hear me okay now. I had a lot of problems trying to get on here.
Not a problem. Not a problem. We're just going through the OTT Rumble as we speak. I know you had some thoughts on it. Mark was just finishing off on Cian Noonan's headpiece.
Yeah, we're saying, Morris, like Cian's absolutely brilliant, probably the brightest talent in all of Irish wrestling, I think. And we think the absolute world of him here. But it was just the way he came out, it was like his Greek god persona, but he was also like acting like kind of a Robbie X Division kind of wrestler. Just they're kind of two contradictory kind of trains of thought almost. Like your natural tendency to somebody who thinks like I'm sculpted, I'm beautiful, would be to kind of dislike that person. But then the way he wrestles, you think, geez, that you can't not love him. So it was just, there was a slight disconnect I felt in the arena or the venue at the time rather. So I'm just commenting on that. And then we were kind of joking about the finish.
We were joking. You were getting aggro. I
wasn't getting aggro. I was like, what the fuck was it? It was like, obviously we're all delighted, over the moon that Barry had such a big moment. It was built for Barry. But like, I just, as soon as Joe came in, I was like, all right, this is Kevin Sullivan, Brian Pillman stuff here now. Like, and Barry's going to be, I respect you, Booker man. Because Joe came in, the first thing he did was eliminate his tag team champions on his own. Do you know what I mean? Like, two of his biggest stars in the promotion. Yeah, no problem. I'm getting rid of you. Turns around, gets rid of Logan Bryce and Callum Black, 2 returning stars. Within the space of about 20 seconds, he's eliminated 4 from the Rumble. And he had the most eliminations out of the whole Rumble, I think. So
tied.
Tied for, yeah, but like he'd only been in for 10 seconds. So like just making sure to get himself over, brother. Like, get your shit in.
Former OTT champion,
yeah,
like
yeah,
he is a star in his own right.
he
Like.
is,
At
yeah,
least,
books himself to be
at
a
least he
star, yeah.
didn't, at least he didn't tear his quads on the way into the fucking ring like Vince did.
That's true, exactly. But anyway, that when he kind of held on after Barry dumped him over with Corvin, and he was like, well, teasing, will I step down? I was like, you're just trying to turn yourself. First of all, my thought was like, oh my god, he's going to try to turn himself into the biggest baby face in the promotion. And he comes back in, it's like, oh my god, he's going to try to turn himself into the biggest heel in the promotion. It was just like 20 minutes ago you weren't a wrestler, like, but now you've just booked yourself as the biggest baby face and heel in the space of 20 minutes. Good lord, it was there's so much going on, and like Liz, you talked about Sami Zayn. The first thing went through my head was Kid Lycos from Progress Wrestling, and the way that kind of underdog comedy character, that kind of groundswell they kind of build shows around the leads in the months leading up to Super Strong Style 16. Even the point of kind of booking the crowd interaction at ringside, stopping Lycos from being thrown out or Lycos being attacked at ringside. Kind of mirrored that with Barry. So it was a curious ending. There was a lot going on. It was brilliant, like, to be in the venue. That the atmosphere was electric, but there was so much going on. I was kind of just overwhelmed with it by the end. Anyway,
Maurice, what was your thoughts on the Rumble match?
I loved it. Now, obviously, I wasn't there in person like you guys, but I watched it back there on Monday, and just want to say the production quality of it, for him to get it out that fast, was absolutely brilliant. But as I said to Jerry, like, if one problem with the Rumble for me was the tag teams entering as one, but then not getting eliminated as one, if you know what I mean. But apart from that, I really enjoyed it.
Yeah. Lads, there was a lot of other matches on the card. We talked about Sammy D and Flash Morgan Webster, Anita Vaughan and Session Moth had the match as well, interrupted again by the Saviors of Destiny, who seem to be a trio now on OTT. What are your thoughts on the Saviors being that faction now on OTT?
Colin, you have a few views, don't you?
No.
Colin has a few thoughts, I think.
Nope.
Oh, Colin, I'd say your thoughts are probably aligned with mine, I'd imagine. Firstly, delighted that we have hashtag SOD and OTT. It's about time, you know what I mean? I can feel it, Mark, I can feel it. It's about time. We were chatting afterwards, and they were saying it's something that they've been working towards for quite a while now, and we've all been kind of hinting at it for maybe the last 12 months that it's somewhere that we'd love to see them. Having said that, with the interference in Anita's match, because Anita now going AV, Anita Vaughan, new music, the whole shebang, she's just repackaged, rebranded. She's had an immense 2023 onwards and upwards for her. I think she's great. She looks amazing. She's a powerhouse. She's believable as a possible future women's champion in OTT and many other promotions around the country. But I'm hoping it's one and done with this interference, because it has been done to fucking death. And literally, the back bollocks has been dragged out of that angle through Irish wrestling for the past, I don't know how long. So can we just leave it at that? And because I was screaming for it, I'd be like, fucking knock them down, Anita. They've cost you your title shot, you know? And I just, when it wasn't, then it was like, she was so happy to see them. I was like, I've seen this. Taylor Swift could not have put it any better. I've seen this film before, and I didn't like the ending, and I don't like that one either. So I'm really hoping it's one and done. Leave her stand on her own and let the boys establish themselves as a tag team in OTT. I'm out. Frustrating, Matt.
Yeah, I was along the same lines. We've spoken about it multiple times before on the podcast that the Saviour's heel stick has been done to death. We've seen it in multiple other promotions. And I am conscious that a lot of people in OTT and a lot of fans of OTT may not have seen it before. So I do get that, yeah, it might be new to some people. But for, I'd say, a good half of the audience that would follow Irish wrestling religiously and watch other promotions, they've seen it being done. And I don't think there's a stone left unturned at this point. So I was a bit disappointed, because that was the first time that we saw Anita Vaughan in OTT on her own as well. And have that kind of one-on-one match. She had a good match.
Yeah.
You know, like, Session Moth was going to win the match regardless. But she did kind of stand on her own 2 feet, and I was actually kind of happy that she was kind of getting that singles opportunity. And then to have the lads run out and interfere in it, and I was just straight away I was like, oh, for fuck's sake, here we go again.
Yeah.
You know,
It would
so
be nice to see them as a tag team in the Rumble. That would have been nice for their debut. I would have preferred to see them in the Rumble.
Yeah, like they're a great tag team. They were our tag team of the year last year, and they've had a massive 2023, and they're rolling that into 2024. But like the trio Sabres of Destiny, we've just seen it. We've seen it in RCW, we've seen it in Fight Factory, and I just think we've seen enough of it at this stage, in my opinion. Hopefully, and my only hope is that OTT might be able to do something different with them, and that's all I'm living in hope of. But I reckon we're gonna see more of the same stick and more of the same finishes and those interferences and same heel finishes and stuff that we've seen for the last year or two or longer at this stage. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I the only gripe I had with this situation was like, obviously, all you know, I'm a man of a law-abiding man, a man of rules and principles, and they spent an awful lot of time dancing around the crowd just for ages. It felt like when they were in the ring, I thought it was brilliant, but they spent so much time in one certain section of the crowd that over half the room couldn't see what was going on, and it felt like it dragged on for a long time, and well over the 20-second OTT outside the ring count. I didn't think it did any favors to the new referee either. Like the action in the ring was brilliant. That was just my only gripe for the whole situation. I mean, I think I said to you, Liz, at the time, with Anita now lining with the Saviors, is that the end of the gals? Because the gals are getting booked over in Pro Wrestling Eve over in London. They're getting booked around Europe as well. So, like, what's the knock-on effect there if she's now moving on from Debbie and co? So, yeah, it was a bit of a curious ending anyway. It's the best way to put it.
We'll use a WWE pun and just we'll wait and see what happens. Speaking of WWE, we're going to talk about the WWE Royal Rumble coming up this Saturday. Maurice, we'll go to you first. You're just fresh off an interview with Ken Anderson, a former WWE star. How did that go? And are we expecting Ken to make a surprise appearance at the Rumble?
Well, when I was talking to him, he kept it fairly short and sweet anyway. He obviously wasn't giving away anything, but I wouldn't be surprised with the way these guys are, but I have no kind of insight on that, but I did ask him in a roundabout way without asking him straight out, was he in it? So I didn't really get an answer. He spoke like a true politician.
What are your thoughts on the Rumble coming up? There's a lot of there's 4 matches, especially announced at the minute. The two
yeah, there's a lot of kind of uncertainty now with what's happened. Seth Rollins, and you're reading all these things online today now about different directions and different matches, and I'm not really sure that what we're reading online today is actually true. I'd say that a lot of that could just be put out there. You know, they're talking about having Cody and Punk just in a regular match at WrestleMania. Can't see that happening.
Nope.
You know, and things like that. So The Rock, I don't think will be in the Rumble either. They don't need him in the Rumble. I think him and Roman seems like it's going to happen now, especially what happened yesterday with this massive day for WWE with the Netflix thing, with the TKO stuff. Yeah, it's an exciting time, but I really can only see CM Punk winning the big one. But who knows?
And what about the ladies? Who do you see winning that?
That is a tough one. But the favored one seems to be Bailey at the moment, isn't it? That's what kind of everyone's behind, and that seems to be what the fans want. So Triple H, a man of the fans, could well happen as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Corey, what do you reckon, Corey? Now, obviously, there's a lot of this Sports Illustrated stuff that came out today that was a bit hit or miss, and they're known for throwing stuff at the wall and seeing what sticks. So yeah, turn on your microphone there now, you.
Jesus, I didn't even realize it was mute. It's a strange one now for me, and it's something that it's strange because it's a straight out not a confirmation, but a claim, a report of a result, which is something that is very uncommon to find. I've personally, myself anyway, I haven't had one person I've spoke to ever give away a result to a match, no matter how small it will be. So I find it very hard to believe that someone would be open to telling the plans. And I that being said, if Cody was not to finish the story, I feel like this year it would be officially entering a point of no return with Cody, where you will eventually have a lot of people not even turn on Cody, but turn on his booking. And I think that's something that isn't Cody's fault in the slightest. I think the fact it is that everyone is wrapped up in him wanting to see him finish the story, and that's because he's so likable. He comes across so likable. And with that report, and I will say, I seen a couple of people saying it was they watched Raw and that's how they deduced all this information. They went that that's not how Sports Illustrated work. I assure you, if they are being told this, it's something that they do believe to be true. And they're not going to just put it out there for the sake of it. But I will say, in my opinion, at least, that it is a strange. It's not. It's a strange report in the sense, like I said, and Sean said it as well, that he hasn't had someone just give him a big spoiler like that before himself either. He said that on Twitter earlier today as well. And yeah, it's a strange situation with that report. That's all I really would say on that. It is a strange one, really, for me anyway.
Like you're at risk of alienating a lot of your top stars by that report coming out today. Like Cody giving up a spot to the Dwayne. Obviously, CM Punk is probably been brought back and the assumed promise of headlining probably night one against Seth Rollins. Not that I don't think Cody versus Punk could be good. Like it was, I didn't enjoy their promo segment on Monday. I thought it was contrived and regurgitated from previous promos both done. That's just me, but anyway, that's just negative.
Yeah.
You never know. He could be out the door back to Jacksonville before you know it. Yeah, it's a very curious report. Like in terms of the Rumble, I think a logical winner. I think like Cody's only kind of come in the door, or sorry, CM Punk's only come in the door. Dwayne Johnson's just come in the door. Triple H seems to be a man who kind of sticks to his guns and like hell or high water. No, this is not what I'm doing. He's not going to rock the boat on that front. So I think Gunther is going to win it. I think that was probably a long-term plan anyway. Yeah, I think that's what makes most sense to me in terms of the way he's been booked for over a year and a bit. Yeah, and that's kind of personally what I want to see now. Everything else seems too predictable. Like I think if it's Cody, Rock, Punk, or Drew McIntyre costing somebody, I think everybody else seems quite easy, and you don't want something that's easy. You want something that seems fresh and new as well.
Yeah, I'd love Gunther to win the Rumble. But how do they take the Intercontinental title off him?
You don't have to.
But he's going to have to lose it eventually. You can't hold both titles.
Why?
Because they never book people like that. Anytime anybody's ever had two titles and WWE, they hand one over.
So you have to do something because that's the way it's done.
Yeah, but like you can't do that with Gunther. Like you can't just have him hand the title over. He's the fucking longest reigning Intercontinental title holder.
You can have both. You can defend both.
I think the problem there is we've already seen what happens when, and I don't suggest that Gunther is going to suddenly adopt a part-time schedule like Roman does, but we've seen what happens when you tie up two championships with one person and that person can't lose. You run the risk then of putting two titles on Gunther, and then he doesn't lose either of those titles, because I very much doubt that they're going to put the title on Gunther and take it off him within 6 months at least. So for me, at least, I think Gunther should not. I don't think Gunther should win on Saturday. I would like to see him win, but right now, I don't think is the time for him to do that. I think when he does get defeated, I think it should be the first time he should lose, should be for the Intercontinental Championship, and it should be someone, a babyface, just overcoming the odds. Like you've got Chad Gable, you've got all that. I wouldn't tie him up in the world title picture until he has lost that championship.
I don't think there's anybody that's quite obvious though in terms of to beat him, like because he's beaten Chad Gable and he's beaten a lot of the kind of young guy, kind of underdog baby faces like Tommaso Ciampa and Johnny Gargano were kind of just lost souls on Raw. There's so many potential people you could have considered previously that are just look out of place. Like Sami Zayn, it doesn't seem to be. He's obviously had time off and whatnot. There's people on SmackDown who don't seem to be in contention of facing Gunther, obviously being on Raw. So like there doesn't seem to be an obvious underdog. Like Drew McIntyre against Gunther wouldn't. That's not an underdog story. That's not going to give you that big pop of somebody overcoming something. So, I don't think there's an obvious end conclusion at that point for me anyway.
It's the stuff with the Miz finished?
God,
Yes,
That wrapped up?
yes, yes. The second match. I don't know if it was an official stipulation, but I think Miz said that if he lost, he wouldn't challenge Gunther again. I think that
Okay.
was the stipulation. So
Must-
I do think that is over for the most part.
Yeah, I was kind of hoping that the Miz might get a little run, because we've seen him do it 20 times as a heel. You know, it would have been nice to see him have the babyface chase for a change, you know, and kind of overcome that and reach the top of the mountain, metaphorically, like, just for a bit of a change up, because we've seen him do it so many times as a heel. I think it would have been nice to see him do it as a face, and I think the crowd were kind of getting behind him with it as well. But yeah, I think obviously we have the Berlin show is massive in August, so obviously the talk around Gunther is to get the title on him for Berlin. Does that have to mean that he wins the Rumble and wins at Mania? Absolutely not, because you still have 4 months to do it after Mania. You know, so there's a lot that they could do with him before that. But I think the obvious thing would be to have him win the Rumble and then belt up at Mania and then hold it through to Germany, so that they have even though he's Austrian, have the hometown boy, like. But yeah, I actually love. I feel so bad for Seth Rollins, because obviously he was going into a big program, but the fallout of that, I love it so much, because there's so much now thrown up in the air that there's a bit of reshuffling going on, or is there reshuffling going on? We don't know what deems to be true. We just keep reading the stories, and that's the stuff that I live for. I live for this, the uncertainty factor, and coming into. I think that the Punk was very obvious to win the Rumble, in my opinion, up until Rollins got injured. And now everything is up in the air. And now we have the factor of, can they switch that to Cody? Can they switch that to Gunther? Can they switch it to The Rock? So that unpredictability makes me excited now going into Saturday night and I'm watching the Rumble with a bit more unpredictability.
At some point, Punk's gonna have to eat some shit for a while, and it's coming just from coming back into be it after he loses somebody at WrestleMania. There'll be a sustained period where he probably just has shit booking for a period. Like, they've given him all he wants for a while, and then, as is the way WWE operate, and Triple H is the guy I doubt. Like, he's an elephant, obviously won't forget. So, the size of that nose. Yeah. So,
if CM Punk and Seth Rollins is the main event for night one, does CM Punk need to win that title? Should he be winning a title?
Yes, I think he does. And I think the injury makes it even more so. I think Seth said today, I think it was today or yesterday, he said that he was hoping to be back within a month. So that would put him in the timeline to wrestle Elimination Chamber. So I said on Twitter earlier, I said that I believe that he should be put in the chamber. Put him in last. Yeah, everyone will know why he's in last.
The fella coming back from an injury, you want to stick him in the
chamber. Let's be honest. The chamber now is
rubber and
I suppose,
it's a lot safer.
Yeah,
it's a lot safer now. And if you put him in at the last person released from a pod, yeah, every fan who knows that will know that you've done that to protect them. Have him do that. Have him come in. Have him wrestle for 10 minutes, less than 10 minutes even. Maybe even have someone else go through the chamber and have a star-making performance and then lose to him. But it protects him in a way that he doesn't risk hurting that knee anymore. And if he does do the rehab right and he does get in time for the chamber, I think the problem with that would be for him to defend in the chamber would be, I would feel, whoever doesn't win Rumble between Punk and between Cody would have to win the chamber, and they only do one men's, one women's chamber every show. So I feel like that his injury does change a lot, but I do still believe that the end goal of Punk is still the same. And I think what Rollins needs to do is get to Mania, and then after that, I think he will have a sustained period off to heal up and possibly even get the surgery if he still needs it. I don't know the ins and outs of MCL and meniscus recovery. I don't know how much of that he can do just with rehab. But I think if Punk does win the Rumble and he goes to WrestleMania, I think him winning the title would be probably the smartest option. And to be honest, with Gunther, I wouldn't put the title on him for Berlin. I would have him win the title in Berlin personally. That's how I'd book that. But yeah, as far as Punk, I would like to see Punk beat Rollins at Mania as a heel, to be honest, as a fully fledged heel.
Yeah.
So I've got this for you. So I think this injury is an easy opportunity to turn Punk heel. I think at the Elimination Chamber, you have Rollins come in, Punk go ham at his knee, turn him heel, wins the title at Elimination Chamber. Rollins gets his win back at Mania. Punk eats his shit after that. So it's all about being in the main event. Doesn't matter if he wins or loses at that for Punk. And so WWE can then turn around and say, yeah, we gave you everything you want. You main evented a night in WrestleMania. Now you're going to eat shit for fucking off and talking shit for 10 years. I still think that's going to be the case for a while. I mean, that's like.
Is this your AEW fan and you're just hoping he eats shit for fucking off?
No, I don't want him to. I don't want him to eat shit. I want WWE to be good, but it's not. Sorry.
This is the CM Punk fan and Mark coming out and saying that WWE are going to be arseholes and treat him like the worst.
But I think if you want it to be really good, I think you see CM Punk in this fake babyface persona he's kind of doing. It's contrived. You can kind of see there's an underlying, I don't know, character underneath as well.
He's a better heel than he is.
No, but like the babyface he's portraying isn't being an authentic. But authentic, energetic babyface. He's kind of off camera. He's saying, "I'm here to make money, not make friends." Things like that. There's a lot of teases throughout. There's something working underneath it all as well. So I think if he turns heel at the Chamber, that's an easy excuse for him to be more interesting.
Maurice, how would you book it with Cody and Punk and Rollins?
I don't know. I'd be worried about Cody, lads, because it's been everyone talks about finishing the story, but he's back now nearly 2 years, and it still hasn't happened. Like, so if it doesn't happen at Mania, if he doesn't win a belt at Mania, like, where do you go from there? Like, time is really running out. But it really depends on Rollins. Like, it seemed like they're really hooked on that match with Rollins and Punk, and they're going to try to do everything they can to make it happen. So that could maybe Punk doesn't need to win the Rumble then in that case. If Seth is going to be fine, maybe they could give the Rumble win to somebody else. I don't know. But then you have Roman Reigns and The Rock. Does that match need a belt? Not really.
No.
So how do you get the belts off Roman? So there's a lot of questions in the air, really.
There's the match on Saturday, the Fatal 4. Is it a Fatal 4 or just a 4?
Yes, it's a Fatal 4.
Yeah. So, like, do they take the belt off him? Do they have Randy? That rumor that was going around that Randy could win it and Cody could finish the story against Randy, and Roman and Rock could still have their main event spot with the.
No. Roman can't beat a load of mid-40-year-old men in a Fatal 4. Roman can't lose to a load of some lads in their mid-40s.
Only if The Rock interferes and costs them the match, though.
If Roman loses the title without being pinned, then someone has really
that'd be horrendous.
They've missed what the fans want, and I feel like with Roman, if you take the belt off and with anyone but Cody, people are going to be disappointed. That's like, and I constantly come back to this. That segment where Cody was talking to Heyman was the same one where Cody thanked him for Dusty and made Heyman cry. That segment, he outlined why he has to beat Roman to finish the story. And I think that resonated with a lot of fans, and that's put them in a position now where if Cody doesn't beat Roman, no one is gonna be happy, but a lot of people are gonna be upset. And if Cody doesn't finish it this year, they've lost their opportunity at it.
I also think there's a number of different stories going on at the same time. I think the way Dusty Rhodes, his story in the 80s was building to a point of fever pitch. You constantly Dusty chase, getting this close. The term Dusty finish came from him winning, but then getting turned around, somehow not winning. So that's what Cody, I believe, is driving with on this, with Triple H as well. Because there's so many other narratives going on at the same time, be it like CM Punk, The Rock, and a few other bits and pieces. There's not this fever pitch and clamor for like demanding we have to have this, like you would have had, say, with Daniel Bryan in 2013 or other different years. I believe that I could see Cody dragging this out for another year. And like, I understand we're in a generation of millennials and Gen Z where everybody has to have their dinner and eat it now, but like making people wait, get people to a point of like demanding something or almost revolting if not. That's what you'll kind of get to. Whereas I think that's where you can kind of give people what they want now. Like if they'd given it to Cody last year, that wouldn't have been that. Obviously, it's been proven since it wouldn't have been the right choice. And whereas everybody at the time thought it was, I still think there's more you can get out of this. You can milk wise to a point of,
To
yeah.
the point of being a whiny bitch, Mark. That's what's going to happen. They're just going to be sick of hearing about the fucking story. They're just going to be like, he's still going on about this fucking story, and it's a shame because it's not his fault. You know that
I mean,
kind of way.
scripted promos. You can just have him say something else then.
I
Yeah,
know,
but
no, you just said it. The generation that we are now, they're going to be like, "What about your story? You can't win here." Do you know what I mean? You
Yeah.
literally in this day and age, you cannot win. We want everything, and we want nothing. We want it now. We want it tomorrow. We want it all, or we want nothing. You can't win. You know.
It feels like he's gonna like if there's almost an assumption he's gonna win now. Oh yeah, he's gonna win now. Like there's not like a demand. There's not a demand to take money out of your pocket to go and pay to see him win. That's what the end of the day, that's the business model for wrestling is. You build something up to the point where you have to pay, you have to be there to see it. That isn't there. It's an assumption now.
But that's today though. It doesn't mean that's not going to be like that.
No, I know. I know.
Months
but I mean, I'm saying with the amount of different moving parts, be it CM Punk, Drew McIntyre, The Rock, there's 3 or 4 different things that are taking from that one overarching angle that demand. Unless they'll need to do something over the coming weeks to make that fever pitch hot. Otherwise, I think you're wasting the moment with Cody.
I think I have to disagree with you, Mark. I think the demand is very much there for Cody to win now. I think that can be only heightened, and I think that's what I was saying just a bit about Rollins and the Chamber and such. The way you build to that fever pitch is simple. He loses at the Rumble. We get to see Cody question himself, doubt himself, and then you have the fans rally behind him, have him win in the Chamber to earn that shot, and then have Roman just constantly saying him, "You're never going to finish this. You couldn't do it last year. You're not going to do it this year." And that's how you build this that fever pitch. I think another year of it. I think I'm of the belief that 39 he could have won, he could have lost. It's not that it wasn't a guaranteed decision then. I feel like it needs to be a guaranteed decision now. But I feel like if like between 39 and 40, we've had his storylines. When he was feuding with Brock, that was good stuff. That was stuff the fans were enjoying. It was a bit out there. It was a bit surprising. It was a bit something that fans didn't see, but they had to keep him on that level. Then, as you've seen the time go on, you've kind of seen that they haven't really had much of a plan for him. I feel like the tag title win was thrown together, even though it was fun. I enjoyed him and Jay together. The Shinsuke Nakamura storyline has also been fun, but again, it feels like he's been going downhill since WrestleMania. His programs have gotten less important. He may have won a championship in the tag team championship, but the biggest moment for him, in my opinion, since WrestleMania 39 was that SmackDown when him and Jay had just defended the titles and Roman walked out, and they went face to face for the first time since WrestleMania, and the crowd erupted for it. Everyone on social media went crazy for it. When a tease garners that reaction, I feel the fever pitch is there. The fans are ready for it. Everyone is ready for it. And I really do think if they don't do it this year, they will have missed their opportunity.
So there's 2 different things. Well, I don't think, even if he does get WrestleMania, I don't think he finishes the story, because I think there's 2 things. They want 1, Roman Reigns to beat Hulk Hogan's record, and 2, The Rock was on First Take with Stephen A. Smith yesterday on ESPN talking about he plays the long game in every decision he makes, which kind of led you to the belief that he's not going to be at this WrestleMania. He's going to be at next year's WrestleMania or a show further down the road to face Roman Reigns. It's going to be for the title as well. He's made that kind of pretty clear in terms of when he does face Roman Reigns, it'll be the biggest show of all time, and it'll be for the WWE title. So the way he phrased it very much lent to the belief that it wasn't going to be in 2 months' time. It's going to be a good bit down the road.
Why do you not do The Rock and Roman at WrestleMania though? That's
one thing that I haven't
Saudi
seen
Arabia.
crop up.
Money. Everything's about money.
Possibly. One of the things that I haven't seen crop up, and it's a question that I've been asking every year now since we went 2 nights, and I don't think we've got it yet. Correct me if I'm wrong, but something that New Japan do on their 2 nights and have done on their 2 nights is have someone work both nights. So it with the way things are going, is it possible that we get Rock and Roman on one night and Roman and Cody on another night?
I think doing that makes it almost not a clean victory for Cody. If you do Rock Roman night one,
Mhm.
Roman retains bloodlines shenanigans, anything you need to do to to have the match finish happen. Then you're looking at the fact that Roman has to go into another match the very next night with Cody, who nearly beat him at 100%, would have beat him in storyline at 39. So then you offer up and that's another thing that fans will latch onto. People will say, "Oh, you couldn't just give him the victory. It's a bit nonsensical, so on and so forth." I feel like money-wise, that would make a lot of money. It would shatter records that I don't think would be broken because of the sheer size of the event. But I feel like having Roman work both nights takes it away from Cody.
Yeah, if you're
If he
working
was
twice,
to beat him.
if you're working twice in a weekend or twice in a night, you've got to do it like say what Barry did at the weekend there. You've got to overcome. You've got to overcome obstacles. You lose one night. Or Daniel Bryan winning 2 matches in one night.
Yeah.
If you're gonna have 2 performers in one night, it's got to be Cody doing something on one night. Then the thread carries through to the second night.
Yeah.
Against 2 fresh opponents. If he's beating somebody who's weakened, that does absolutely nothing for nobody. So
it's hard enough to get Roman to work twice a year. Never mind.
Yeah, that's also a very important thing to consider.
Well, like where do we go? Like who's winning the Rumble? Like who is main event? Is it going to be Cody and Roman? Is it going to be The Rock and Roman? Like who does everybody think? Who's winning the Rumble?
I don't want to encourage betting, but I put £10 on going there today. So
good man.
That's what I'm sticking to because I want to win me 70 quid, 10 quid at 6-1 that I stuck on today.
Yeah.
I think
that's your call.
I'm going with sorry, Morris. Sorry, apologies. Sorry.
I'm going to go with Punk. I know it's the obvious answer, but I can just see him winning it. But Colin, was there anyone interested on the betting there? Because I always have a few interesting names down.
There's a few like Okada and stuff is in there. Yeah, there's always a few weird ones thrown in. Dwayne is obviously up the top end as well. So, but yeah, there's I think they're not allowed. I work in the betting industry, just FYI. They stopped putting in outlandishly stupid people, because they were just so outlandish, and people were kind of getting a bit of backlash, like, "Oh, you're just putting it up there and then taking people's money for free." So they actually stopped putting outlandishly stupid people in there. So everyone is kind of relevance, and I think the most out there one is Okada at the moment.
I heard that JD was like 15,000 to 1 to win it. Kenny Omega and the Bucks are actually better odds than him.
Worth the $5.
He's probably that odds to eventually join the Judgment Day officially, or whatever's going on with that. Like,
love the ladies' Rumble match. We got to go into this because there's a lot of potential surprises and would be winners going into this. Who have we got? Who are you thinking?
Obvious choice is Bailey, surely, to win it. But that said, I could see them going in a completely different direction as well. It just, I can see someone from Damage Control costing her an opportunity. So it's the ladies at the moment is really, really hard for them to call, and there's so few people confirmed for it. Few competitors confirmed for it. So, but I'd like to see, there's definitely a few women I'd like to see get a good run in there. Tiffany Stratton, I think she is, strap a rocket to her and send her to the moon, because she's as good as ready for the main roster. She has the character work down to a T. I'd like to see Ivy Nile get a little bit of a run in there as well. I think there'll be no harm. We may see, what's I thinking? Blair Davenport maybe as well. I think she'd be a nice one to throw in there too. Maybe Lyra, our own homegrown, she might pop in as well, kind of pull a Roxana Perez and come in as the champ. We'll have less of that, thank you very much.
Lyra.
Hence why I went with the first name, Colin. And we might get the long-awaited debut of Jade Cargill. Who knows? We may not. And I'd like to see Nikita Lyons in there as well, just for fun, for shits and giggles. I'd like to see her in there too. But final four, I'm thinking probably Becky, Bailey, maybe Nia because of the story she's got going on with Becky, or even Raquel as well. I'd like to see Raquel Rodriguez in there without a smile, and probably Bianca as well in the last four, I would think. But the obvious choice would be Bailey. It breaks me to say it, but I don't want to see Becky win it.
All right.
I don't. at all.
She
I
doesn't-
just,
she
I
doesn't-
don't. I know,
She
but
doesn't need to win it though.
there's chatter, and I
Yeah.
just think stop chatting. No,
Any
it's just not
surprises?
something to
Anybody
do.
expecting anybody coming in? Any returning people?
Like
I
the
mean-
one obvious one is Mercedes, isn't it? Like I know, like everyone is saying it's a done
Oh,
deal.
Corey.
She's not going to WWE. She's going to AEW. But like until it happens, there's always that little inkling that's going to be there, and it's going to be there on Saturday night, and people are going to be waiting on it. And if it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, which is more than likely, it doesn't. But people are going to go in half hoping and half thinking it, and I can guarantee you're going to see.
Oh yeah, I know Corey has this as well. So and AEW are currently for March booking Mercedes Moné friendly arenas. So just
Friendly arenas.
Friendly
What the
arenas.
fuck is that? What?
What's the Mercedes Moné friendly arena when it's at home?
Just that's the kind of arenas they're looking at currently in terms of to make sure to maximize gates and attendees for assumed arrival.
Oh, right.
So there's a room for Escalade to drive up on stage so she can get out of it.
Well, yeah, probably a bit of that, but I know that like Alvarez, Sean, and a few other people had it as well. So,
Who do
Corey,
we?
if you want to shed some light, Mr. Fightful over here in the corner.
All I know is the same stuff that Sean has publicly said, that it's basically a done deal. As he said, he can't prove that she has signed as of this moment, but he is very, very, very confident. You have probably seen the clip that's been going around now where he was actually asked again by someone if the Netflix deal impacted it. He was very clear on the fact that it will not impact it. But I think a lot of people are, and I do feel like a lot of people are still hoping for Mercedes, and I do and I don't feel bad for them, because there's a lot of people out there who are only want to be fans of her if she's Sasha Banks, not if she's Mercedes Moné in AEW or in New Japan. So, and I think, Colin, like you said, anything can happen, but if it did happen, as Sean and as everyone has said, if it doesn't happen now, then it'll be an even bigger story because of the fact of how sure everyone is she is going to be there. In terms of the women's rumble itself, for me, I agree that Becky shouldn't win it in the slightest, even though it would be a great statistic for their biggest star of all time to have, for the women's star of all time to have. Bailey is a weird one for me, because while everyone wants her to win, if she goes into that match as a heel, I do not see her winning it as a heel. I feel like if she's going to win that, she needs to win it as a babyface. Especially, but I do feel, I did say earlier in the week as well on Twitter, that I do think that the tag team title match on Friday will be a very, very big inkling to if Bailey's winning or not, because I feel like she's going to try and get involved. We've seen it time and time again, as with Damage Control, Bailey tries to help, it backfires in some kind of capacity, and with how they've been treating her in storyline as well, I feel like that'll be the straw that breaks the camel's back. Beat down, maybe even tease that she won't be in the Rumble at all. And then you have that as well to add on to it. But again, if she goes into that match without Damage Control turning on her, I think the turn happens in the match, and that's how she does get eliminated. Outside of Bailey and Becky, I really don't know who you could have win it, who has the momentum, who has the credibility with fans. I feel like the only person who does have momentum right now is Nia, and if Nia wins, then the internet will catch fire.
Close.
But to be honest, I feel like there's gonna be some surprises. Like, I do think people are underestimating the fact that Naomi will probably be in the match. People are saying, oh, she still has Impact appearances to air. WWE does not care about if people have. We've seen time and time again, especially when Triple H took over creative, he signed a couple of people from MLW. They were on TV 3 months later with MLW because of how they schedule. So I really don't know who could win that match if it's not Bailey or Becky. I really do not think there's really anyone that stands out who could. Raquel, of course, is another name as well that could, like you said. And after that, though, I really do not. I couldn't tell you. I really couldn't tell you who wins that match if it's not Bailey or Becky.
The only other person can I not mention that I possibly have a chance, maybe returning after post DUI, is Liv Morgan, maybe, depending on.
That's something that's something that I don't think Liv could win. Um, I think someone like Bianca would have more of a chance than Liv at this
Mm,
stage in her career.
mm,
But that being said, a lot there's been some talk and some speculation that she was set to face Charlotte in a singles match, non-title
yeah.
at Mania.
Mm.
So I don't think she's going to win it either. I really do not know who could win if it's not Becky or Bailey.
Like I'm quite glad. Like, sorry, this is a terrible thing to say. Like, obviously, just poor circumstances, but I'm very glad that Charlotte's not in it, just because it's always just 50-50 booking in WWE. She either wins everything or she disappears. So I think that kind of takes that equation out of it.
He's not pulling a John Cena, the Cian coming back out of nowhere.
Hopefully not. But I mean,
She's shredded her ACL. She will not be back for a while.
Yeah.
She's already
training
doing.
back.
She's still doing really good. She's already doing training that, to be honest, is shocking considering how bad. Like it was a bad injury, and the way she did end up getting it didn't help matters. Like being hung up on the top rope and hanging there for the time that she did. I wouldn't say that they would have booked her to win this. She would have had a strong performance as she usually does, but I really don't think she would have been in contention to win, even if she was healthy.
Like I suppose from the NXT point of view, three people, I suppose. Yeah, fair. I can say, I think Lyra Valkyria and Blair Davenport are head and shoulders better than half the women on the main roster, in my own opinion, in ring wise anyway. And Tiffany Stratton, you can probably make an argument better than majority of them as well. So I think you have it. I don't think Lyra will win. I could see a case whereby sometimes at Royal Rumbles you might have an NXT competitor make the last three or final four.
Last four, yeah.
Yeah, but I could also see like they might decide because. Might decide with Tiffany Stratton could be final two, or even Tiffany Stratton could win it, depending what their like, end game is. Like if they're not going with Io Sky versus Bailey and Becky versus Becky versus Rhea. What else do you have there in terms of women's matches? You need something different, something new. I think Tiffany Stratton's kind of an obvious one that should be more. Yeah, something new and something entertaining compared to what you generally have on the women's side on the main roster anyway. Yeah, that would be my two picks, be Tiffany Stratton or Bailey actually, yeah.
You think maybe they dangle the carrot for Naomi or Trinity, like, drop your title and come here and win a title, win the Rumble and head to WrestleMania? Would they give it there?
I don't think so. I think she's an absolute fantastic talent, and I think she's shown that more than ever since leaving.
Yeah.
In Impact, she's shown how good she really is, and I think that a title win is absolutely in her future. She definitely could be. She's been champion before in WWE. She's been a decent champion as well. I just don't think she'll win in her first match back. But with regard to NXT talent, she hasn't been mentioned yet. I'd like to see Lash Legend in the match, to be honest. I would really like to see Lash Legend in the match, especially if Jade is in there. I'd love to see Jade, Lash, Bianca in the match at the same time. Just having a nice standoff, that'd be really nice to see. But that's another thing, though. Actually, she hasn't been on TV, so she completely slipped my mind. But Jade is one that is something that I've been thinking about recently, and I think she has to get either the most eliminations in the match or possibly even break the record for women's eliminations. I'm not sure what it is at the moment. I think it's Shayna. I think it might be Shayna at the moment. I'm not sure.
Charlotte and Shayna have 8, I think.
I think so, yeah. And Jade, they're putting a lot of emphasis into the fact that Jade is training hard. So I'm wondering if they want her to be at that level that she didn't quite reach in AEW. They never had her go for the women's world title. They want her to be ready like that to do it, to be at the top of the card. You saw how she was presented when she guested in all the shows, when she was at Halloween Havoc watching the match. She was on her own throne, for God's sake. I think that she could, I think it's possible that she could win. I think it's a small chance, but I didn't think of her earlier, and I'm actually shocked I didn't, because if you really want to convince AEW talent, look, it's not too bad over here for you, having the two biggest gets that you've taken from AEW, I don't count Punk in that because Punk was fired with cause and all that. He didn't leave because or anything like that. well, just speculation, people theories that he did it on purpose, yada yada. But her winning could send a massive message, and her going on and winning at Mania in a title match, whether that's Io or Rhea, and either match with either of those women would be fantastic, I imagine, especially with how much work she's been doing in the Heart Dungeon and stuff like that. And yeah, I'll throw Jade in there with Bailey and Becky, to be honest.
Surely Final Four.
Yeah, I think she's gonna eat. I think we'll get a lot of teases for Jade as well if she doesn't win. If she gets eliminated, it'll be by someone very, very big, someone like Becky, someone who just, or maybe even like I said earlier, Bianca might, and they might set that match up.
Yeah.
But I think Jade is pretty. I would say I don't know now. This is no report and this is no something I've heard or anything like that. But I would say there's a big chance she's in the Rumble, a very big chance. I think that'd be where they decide to debut her, and I think that she will have probably one of the best performances in it if she doesn't win it.
Marco, you're shaking your head a lot there.
No, I was just thinking of a story myself and Corey. If only Corey had jumped on that Jade WWE anecdote I had a while ago.
I don't want to talk about that.
Sorry. I told him that before it came out. But anyway.
Your thoughts on the women's Rumble match?
Yeah, I think Bailey's the obvious choice, and my outside pick would be Jade. I think Corey put it perfectly. It shows, the AEW lads that the grass is a little bit greener on this side, and I think the fact that AEW again they didn't give her they booked her like a beast in the mid card. They didn't give her that big push. They didn't give her the women's championship, where they probably should have sooner. And if they did, they probably could have kept her. If they did value her that much, but. I think it's there for WWE to capitalize on. A lot of the fans are going to be clever. They'll know who she is when she comes in. Your casual fans won't, but they've seen snippets of her over the last few months. If the commentators do their job on the night, they can push her to the moon as well, and everyone will know that she's championship material by the time the night is over. And it wouldn't be a surprise for me if she won and then she went to Mania and picked up a championship, just to kind of rub a bit of salt in the wound of AEW as well, to kind of say, like, you dropped the ball here, and to show the other talent that, listen, this is possible as well. We're not going to book you like shit just because you're after coming from the other side.
I mean, who she is. She's physically impressive. If you don't know who she is, you know that she's an absolute.
She's a beast, and I think we've talked about this, haven't we?
She's absolute. She's very. The thing is, she's very tall. She's very powerful. We know this. I think something that to visit down the line is, and this is something that I think WWE have done very well, is how they're booking the bigger women now after after Vince has been ousted from creative and such. Nia isn't everyone's cup of tea, but she's been booked I think she's been booked exceptionally well since she came back. I think she's done some of the best work she's ever done, and a lot of that is to do with her story with Becky now again. But I think down the line, and it's another signing that if they do sign, it just adds and adds and adds to the division. If they get Camille and Jade down the road, Camille and Rhea down the road, like, they just have this option in the women's division of powerhouses now, and I think Jade will only add on to that. And I think that as you said, when she comes in, people will know who she is, or they will recognize that she is physically impressive, the hype behind her. Even if you're a casual fan, they would have saw how much hype was around her when they did make the signing. WWE did a great job. The press releases, the show and everything on TV, like, look how many people were talking about Jade signing and all this. I think she does have an outside chance, and I do think she will be debuting at the weekend.
I think, particularly the way WWE booked their women's talents, I think they'll probably highlight her strengths more. I think all around when she left AEW, there's probably a collective sense of, it's probably fair enough in terms of she wasn't able to go more than a few minutes. She could only kind of squash match and end up being a repetitive cycle. I think there was obviously a sense of when she came to WWE that you probably know better than most, Corey, that there was a bit of a shock in terms of her actual wrestling ability was a lot worse than people expected, and hence why she's been held back to a degree. That's kind of a lot of the word that was spread out for a while. So yeah, like listen, if she has been held back to kind of develop and improve as an actual wrestler, and I just say Corey, like the likes of Nia Jax has been booked tremendously. A huge amount of her weaknesses have been hidden incredibly well. And there's not the same in-ring technical demands you would have found elsewhere. That there's no reason why she can't have a huge landing spot in the Royal Rumble, look big, look strong, do a few power spots, eliminate a few people, and look like $1,000,000. Like I don't see her winning, but I can see her having that kind of debut and then somebody eliminating her, leading to a program between here and the Royal Rumble.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's going to be interesting. I'm really sure. I have no idea who's going to win it. I couldn't call it. I was hoping for Bailey, but yeah, I wouldn't put it past Jade winning it. I don't know if she's ready for a WrestleMania spot yet. It's hard to know like how quickly she can get up to speed, but she's in the right place with Nadia.
There'll be a lot of surprises, I think, in that match as well. A lot of kind of comebacks, maybe 5 or 6.
I can see Trish being involved in the match for sure, and I can see Lita also, the usual suspects who are brought back.
Yeah.
Michelle McCool, as well. And I think
Victoria, probably.
Maybe there's a couple of outside surprises that I'm not really sure could happen. Some people are suggesting Mickie James could. I'm not sure. Obviously, there's a big surprise that people are talking about a lot, which is AJ. Everyone seems to think that because Punk's back, AJ is gonna follow. But I think she's happy in retirement. It's not something I know any insider info on about. There's footage of her training with Punk recently, so she's not just not in the ring. So it's always possible. I'd love
She's
to
gonna
see her
do
back.
it as well, but doesn't want that mega spot to come back for a proper run. The Rumble's the place to do it. You can come in, do your 5 minutes, and get out, and you don't have to be seen again. So they make sense on that side of things.
Yeah, I think she could definitely come back even for a one night only appearance. But even if she did come back for a full run, I think that the women's division now has surpassed. I think AJ is a star no matter where she turns up. I think she always will be, especially because how good she is on the microphone. But I think that the women's division now is a lot different how it was 10 years ago when she was at the top.
Mm-hmm.
When she was at the top, she was at the top. She was clear of pretty much everyone else on that roster, other than like Natalia and so on at the time. Obviously, NXT was starting to pick up at the time, so women's wrestling was starting to get there. She really did exit the company at a time when she could have thrived. So I would like to see her come back and lock up with the new talent, but I really am not sure if we will. I would say that I definitely wouldn't assume it based off Punk, because obviously Punk was back in AEW for so long and we never even heard a whisper of her coming to AEW.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a surprise entrant that I could see happening, but I also wouldn't be surprised if she was just happy in retirement.
What else is coming up in a Rumble? There's 4 matches.
I don't know, mate. I'm wrapped up in the main Rumble matches. Couldn't give a shit.
Logan and KO is the
KO and Logan Paul.
Yeah, that's a really good match. I think they've really see. I really do not like Logan Paul. I think a lot of people do not like the man. Don't like him at all. Don't like him in his YouTube. Don't like how he does stuff in his personal life and all that. But I think we can all agree that the man is made for professional wrestling. Like, it's scary how good he is. It's scary how much he gets it. People didn't like his promo work in the KO build-up, but I thought it was perfect for what he is. And I think Kevin is the perfect opponent for him for his first US title defense. And I think it's going to be the outside the Rumbles. I think it'll be the match of the night for most people.
Yeah, with Logan, I'm not saying that he hasn't been good. He's been exceptional.
Yeah.
But they've booked him really well, and they've booked him with the right people.
Yeah.
And they've booked him with people who are going to make him look brilliant.
Yeah.
And they're going to make him look better than he already is.
Yeah.
So, and I think this is another case in point of that. You're putting him in there with someone like KO, who has the ability to make people look better.
Yeah.
So I think it is a perfect match for him. He is limited in what he can do, and then Kevin can save the stuff that he's not able to do. So
Yeah.
I do think it's great. And then you have I love the Kevin Owens, what would you call it, the off the cuff, real like truth telling Kevin Owens, where it seems like it's coming from a real place, even if he is working, it still seems like he's speaking as himself rather than his character, So I do like the build up a bit as well. It seems like Kevin Owens himself is in a good place as well. Seems
Yeah.
that he found his happiness, because I know a few years ago he was saying that he wasn't happy in wrestling and he wasn't enjoying the moments and he was too much in there and wasn't living in the moment. It seems like he's come out of that and he's just having the crack now. And I love seeing it. And stuff, matches like this, going in against Logan Paul and showing him the ropes and making him look brilliant as well, is like, it's his forte and he's brilliant at it. And it seems like he's enjoying himself. But I'm looking forward to that match, because the Logan Paul thing now is we're going to get a crazy spot. And Kevin Owens
Yeah.
as well loves a crazy spot. So how crazy is this spot going to be, So that's what I'm looking forward to.
Who's winning it?
Oh, that's a hard one.
That's a flip, isn't it? Like, it's
Kevin Owens.
I think Logan's winning, and I think Logan will be carrying that title into Mania.
Yeah.
I don't know who he'll face at Mania. I really don't know who he's going to face at Mania. That's one that's really hard for me to really decide on, because SmackDown doesn't have a lot in the mid card that I would be delighted to see in that position. And there's
LA Knight.
Knight, yes, but also Knight feels almost above the US title already.
What else are you gonna do?
That's true, but
and you've got to give him some sort of moment where he's got a singles win and singles match at WrestleMania, based on after they brained Money in the Bank. So
yeah, he did bring up Logan in a recent interview a couple of days ago, where he was saying that he got a lick at Money in the Bank, and if he steps to him, he'll get it again. And Logan's been trash talking him, so yeah, I can see them going that direction.
He's in his mid-40s. Like, this is one chance to make money as well. Like, so it's like, he's not gonna have a long lifespan in wrestling, because he's got a couple of years to make money. Logan Paul's a big spot. He'll do this match, big hype with the guy on social media. Then he'll do the impulsive rounds after they've had the match, and that'll build up one character off the top of it. I think it's just that's the most obvious one for me. Where Kevin Owens goes after this, I don't know. Colin and I kind of slightly disagree. I think Kevin Owens looks like kind of tired of everything to a degree. When I see him on TV, he looks slightly apathetic to me. I think he just looks like, he talks about in interviews now, he gets more enjoyment out of coaching people behind the scenes than actually performing. A lot of the time, to me, it looks like he's kind of going through the motions. It doesn't seem to have the same kind of fire or passion he would have had in years, and that comes with old age as well. So,
how old is he?
Age, Mark, Jesus, wept.
It's not
old age, experience of being there. Sorry, listen, throwing yourself against metal and wood for 300 days a year.
It's not even 40 yet.
Listen, if you're doing that for year on year, like, you do get to a point where maybe it's just doing the same thing. It might feel a bit repetitive somewhat.
I don't think he's doing the same thing, though. I think he's the only real person in the world of wrestling. Like, that's his character at this point, where he notices things like trends and stuff like that, like we saw on SmackDown with Waller and Theory and all that. I think they're really missing an opportunity with Logan as well, though, because I think Grayson Waller and Austin Theory, they've had them together, but they haven't really put them as a unit together. I think that would be a great group to have on SmackDown. I know there's stables everywhere at this point, but I think their acts do interlink well, and I think Logan is going to beat him, Kevin Owens. But I do, like I said, I do think it's going to be match at night.
Do you reckon Kevin Owens gets left off WrestleMania?
No chance.
No way. Maurice, what's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think Logan is definitely going to win that one, guys. But just go back to what the lads were saying about Kevin Owens there, that he was kind of, Colin said he looks happy, and then Mark said he didn't. But I think about 2 years ago, people were having that conversation, and then he had that match with Austin and Dallas, and that kind of reignited him, I think, for a few years. And maybe he just needs a big match at WrestleMania just to kind of maybe find that passion if it is missing again.
Where do you book
who?
that's not a multi-man ladder match again? Like, because he's been in fucking all of them.
I don't think it really matters
That's
what
probably what
way.
happened.
I don't think it matters what way you book him. I think fans will be enthralled by what he does, no matter what he does, because that's just who he is as a performer. If you're really struggling at that point in time, he's been babyface for a while now. And to be honest, if they wanted to do another big match, and Sammy is someone who right now we have no idea what he's going to be doing for Mania. Personally, I would like to see him with Gunther. If Gunther is still Intercontinental Champion, I think he should be the one to dethrone Gunther personally. But if you're really struggling at that point, just run back Sammy and KO again. No one's going to complain. And with Triple H in charge, obviously he's focusing more on the in-ring stuff again, like he usually does. We might see their best match in WWE. Yeah, and again, that's just being lazy at that point. But there is options for him, I think.
Interesting.
Big weekend ahead.
Big weekend. Well, NXT's on Sunday, right? Isn't it? They have
no, Vengeance Day, I think, is in February. I think it's
is it?
Valentine's Week, isn't it? Yeah. Yeah. February 4th. It's next week.
It's
Next week, right?
Next week.
Interesting.
Well, now, my God.
That's the show, lads. Before we go, Maurice, like I said, we just got off with Ken Anderson. How did it go overall? How was he?
Yeah, very nice guy. Very chillaxed. Had him on for about an hour. Yeah, he was kind of short in some of his answers. You know, he kind of had to extract stuff out of him. Some of these guys, you know, are like that. But nice guy. Talked to him for a few minutes off camera. I think one of his students wants to wrestle in Ireland next year, so he was just looking for a few contacts. So I just sent him on Joe's details there, and they could discuss that themselves. And I asked him, was he coming back over here? So nothing at the moment, anyway.
Where is he at the minute? Is he signed anywhere? No, is he?
No, he's got his own wrestling school now, and he's kind of focused on that at the moment. But he's got a lot of bookings coming up. He announced on the show there he's fighting Umaga's son, because he had Umaga's final match before he passed away. His son is going to wrestle him now in November. So they announced that today, actually. So
when is that?
Nice. November 1st.
November, all right.
Yeah, so they're going to kind of draw it out for a while, it seems.
Have you anything else coming up? You're knocking on doors at the minute, are you?
What do I have coming up? I have a lot going on. Like, I talk to a lot of people from the outskirts of the business as well. Maybe guys that have only had like maybe 3 or 4 matches on TV ever. But what I've been trying to do is kind of just document everyone's story I can that maybe has only played a small part in the business, just so their story is there, you know.
And you're
back from Booker T.
Sorry?
You're canvassing at the minute.
Yeah, we won't talk about that. We won't bore you with that. No, it's not about Booker T, Colin.
I said, have you heard back from Booker T? Yeah, no. Is he still ghosting you?
I've got a guy who's working for me now in America, and he rang Booker's school to try and get him to do this debate with Ahmed Johnson, and I couldn't repeat what was said on the phone anyway. He wasn't happy. There was no way he was going to do that anyway, but we were just trying to kind of bait him into it.
Oh yeah.
Love it.
Corey?
Yeah. I'd be remiss if I didn't obviously plug Fightful Select, especially with such a big week this week. You're going to be seeing a lot, especially from me this week. And yeah, despite what Colt Cabana has said on being the Dark Order, Fightful Select is the best $5 in the business. Sorry, Colt.
Oh wow, jeez, he's a couple of months away from body slam, and he's drinking the Kool-Aid.
Who's a better boss, is Sean or?
No, don't.
I'm not answering that question. But I will say, if there's any Irish talent watching this, if they want to reach out, I'd love to interview them for Fightful in the future. I put up a post a couple of days ago. It's my pin post. Just send me a DM and we'll sort something out.
Maybe there's an opportunity. Yeah. Amazing.
Mark, you just your piece for Voices of Wrestling just went out as we speak.
Yeah, I was kind of took a look at the frameworks around what a sports-based centric product could look like around AEW and kind of their pivot towards that, or pivoting back towards a sports-centric product, and probably try to take it a couple of steps further. The kind of frameworks around that, if they're serious about becoming an alternative and not trying to be the same thing or copying the same tropes and parameters as the mainstream product does, how would that look like in reality if you're going to compare it to boxing, MMA, or even football, be it around League Cups and Champions League kind of round robin tournament formats? So yeah, it was a good piece of work. I had an awful lot of it got chopped out, but good though. Nonetheless, it was still good though. Yeah, thanks very much for plugging.
And Colin, you're working hard in the background for the Irish Wrestling Awards.
Oh, fucking the vein of my existence at the moment. Yeah, no, it's good stuff. The nominations are in, compiled. Voting literally went live before we came on here to record this. So yeah, a lot to do. And then we'll obviously record the show off the back of the results of that. But yeah, I'm delighted with the feedback from everybody. I've had a lot of people asking me since probably the start of December when are the awards. So it's good that there's an anticipation there as well, that people enjoyed them last year and are looking forward to them again this year. So it gives me that impetus to get the finger out and get the work done on them, you know. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to seeing what the outcome is. Although I'm probably looking at a few saying what I think is going to win, but like it'd be very interesting to see what the general consensus is, you know. But yeah, working very hard in the background on that.
Nice mix though with the nominations that are up, isn't there, compared to say maybe last year, the year before, and that's just testament to the other promotions in Ireland how they've stepped up their game.
Yeah, there was a lot more variety. Like to be fair, it was very OTT centric last year, and with Fight Factory getting kind of like the second most, and then the odd kind of RCW bit thrown in. I'm not sure if we had anything from Hard Knocks or NLW, to be quite honest. Last year, I'd have to look back, but this year there was a wide variety of nominations, and the way that they were done is that I took the ones that had multiple nominations. So if you nominated something and it's not in there, it's in there because no one else nominated it, unfortunately. So the ones that were nominated by multiple people went in. And I was surprised to see a lot from NLW, considering that they don't record their shows and put them out there. There was people voting for some of their stuff. There was a good amount from RCW and Hard Knocks this year, and Fight Factory, a lot more from Fight Factory this year, mixing in. OTT probably still had the majority because they do have that majority shareholding in the country, but yeah, it's a very, very good mix this year, and I was really glad to see it when I was compiling those nominations.
Cool. That's the show, lads. It's been a pleasure having you on, Corey. Brennan from Fightful, Maurice Shortall from GP Productions. Lads, if you haven't started following Maurice or Corey, get on Twitter, get on YouTube, wherever you can find them. You can also again follow us on YouTube and Twitter, X, Instagram, all those things. If you have any predictions below, let us know what you thought of the OTT Rumble, or who you think's going to win the WWE Women's and Men's Rumbles, and your predictions maybe going into WrestleMania season. Join us. We'll be back next week for maybe the Irish Wrestling Awards once the votes are in. If it's next week.
Pressure's on, Colin. Next week,
Definitely won't be next week.
Why not? Why not? Get it on.
Definitely won't be next week. Definitely won't be next week. 100%. See you in March.
From myself, from Queen Lizzie, from Colin. Oh, there you are. I forgot you were there. I thought you were John Cena. From Colin, from Mark, from the lads. Been a pleasure, lads. We'll talk to you again soon. Bye for now.